Hello, everyone. Looks like people are starting to tune in, so I'll just give it a couple more minutes before we get started here. All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another webFEAT webinar. We're obviously talking about Google Ads today. I've got a lot of information packed into this presentation. I think you're going to get a lot of value out of it. I guess just to start, just know going in, Google Ads is a pretty elaborate platform. I'm going to be touching on quite a few topics today, but by no means at the end of this webinar, you're going to be able to, immediately go into Google Ads and create, a super successful campaign. But I think this is going to be a great starting point for most of you. I guess secondly, this presentation will be recorded and we're going to upload it to our webFEAT YouTube channel in case you want to refer back to it. And we will also be emailing you the slide deck at the end of the presentation. Okay, so the agenda for today, we're going to talk about what Google Ads are in general, where Google Ads are shown, and as an advertiser and a business owner or a marketer, where you can potentially show your ads. Google search results is one place to show them, but you can also show ads in a multitude of other places. Additionally, we're going to talk about some of the benefits of Google Ads and what they can do for you. And then the majority of the presentation is going to be talking about some key components of Google Ads. And I think that's where you're going to get a lot of the value of this webinar from. So to start off, just a couple interesting facts. There are 3.5 billion searches, roughly speaking, per day on Google. Per year, there are roughly 2 trillion searches. And of those 2 trillion searches, 40 to 50% of them actually result in someone clicking on a Google ad. So what that means as a marketer or a business owner is that there's a ton of potential opportunity out there for you to drive targeted traffic to your site. So to start, what is Google Ads? In case you don't know. Google Ads is a pay-per-click, or otherwise known as PPC, advertising solution that businesses use to promote their products and services on Google Search, YouTube, and millions of other potential websites across the web. I think the important thing to note about Google Ads is that it is a pay-per-click, or I'm sorry, I just got a message that said you couldn't see my screen. I do apologize. 1 second, sorry. All right, how about that? Okay, I think we're doing much better now. I apologize about that. So as I was saying, I promise you didn't miss too much from not seeing my screen there. But basically, Google Ads is a pay-per-click service, or PPC. So what that means is you only pay Google when someone actually clicks on your ad. And the cost per click is a variable fee, which is important to note. It's not like you just pay $5 every time someone clicks on your ad. The cost per click, depending on how competitive your industry is and where you're showing your ads and what type of ad you're actually running, can vary from a few cents up to a few $100s per click. There's a lot of factors that can go into it, and we'll touch on some of those in a little bit. So the next thing you might be wondering is, where are Google Ads shown, and where can you show your ads as an advertiser? So there's, generally speaking, 3 main categories, and we're just going to go ahead and jump into those. So the first is the Google search results, obviously, and this is probably what you're most familiar with. Typically, there's 2 types of ads that are going to show in the Google search results. You have on the left side of the screen here, your standard text ads, which you've probably all seen, and then you also have Google shopping ads, and the ads on the right side of the screen here with the image are typically going to be used for an e-commerce website selling physical products. Another category or area you can run ads in is called the Google Search Partner Network. And this is where a lot of people start getting confused, but basically there are other websites out there that also have search functionality built into their website. So 2 really good examples of that are Amazon.com and Yahoo.com. Amazon and Yahoo both have a search bar very similar to what you'll see on if you go to google.com. And basically, when you set up your Google Ads account, you can opt into showing your ads within the Search Partner Network, and this is basically telling Google that you want to show your ads on websites like Amazon and Yahoo. So, for example, if you were to go to yahoo.com and search for something like HVAC services near me in their search bar, generally you're going to see some results like this, and these are actually Google Ads. So, if you were to set up a Google Ads campaign and opt into this network, there's a potential that your ads could show up like this. Additionally, Google Ads can also show up in other Google platforms like Google Maps and Gmail. And then the third area you can run Google Ads is within the Google Display Network. I think the best example I can give for this is you've probably looked up, a recipe at some point in time, and you've found yourself on some sort of food blog. And while you're scrolling through that blog, looking for the recipe, you've probably encountered some display ads that might resemble something like this. Basically, the way this works is, one, you would set up a display ad in Google, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But basically, SEMrush is an SEO Google Ads tool that I use and webFEAT uses quite frequently. And so Google knows that we visit that website often, and so basically Google knows to show a relevant ad to us when we're browsing throughout the display network. And I guess to better clarify what the display network is, there's over 3 million websites included in the Google Display Network. And basically these sites opt in to showing Google ads throughout their blog and websites. So what can ads do for you? Google Ads can, number one, drive targeted traffic to your website, given the fact that, the way Google Ads works is you basically bid on specific keywords that you want your ads to show up for. And so by doing that, you're naturally going to drive targeted traffic to your site. Additionally, and probably one of the main reasons you'd be interested in running Google Ads is to generate website conversions. And a conversion can mean different things depending on your business, but typically if you're, an e-commerce website selling physical products, then, obviously selling products on your site is going to be the most important conversion to you. But if you're, a service-based business, then generating RFQs or emails or phone calls, might be a conversion. Additional benefits of, sorry, I just saw a message come through. Additional benefits of Google Ads is to improve brand awareness. And I'll give a couple examples of ads you can run later on that are especially good at doing this. And then also Google Ads can help you get to page one and get to that top position on Google. And this is another big reason people decide to use Google Ads, because depending on the industry you work in, you might be competing with some really large businesses. And from an SEO or organic perspective, it might be really difficult to, outrank these websites and companies for really competitive keywords. And so one way to potentially get around this is by creating Google Ads and actually, essentially paying Google to get on near the top of page one of Google for these certain keywords. Okay, now we're going to start getting into the key components of a Google Ads account. And, there are tons of features and tools and things you need to understand about Google Ads before, even considering, managing your own account. And we're going to touch on a bunch of these today. This is going to be a comprehensive list, but I tried to pick out some of the, main topics I would recommend starting out with. So the first thing is when you first go to create a Google Ads account, you're going to see a page that looks very similar to this image on the screen here. And, Google's going to ask you, what's your main advertising goal? And you're probably going to be inclined to, click get more calls or get more website sales, and then click on next. And what that's going to do is it's immediately going to send you to the Express version of Google Ads. And, you almost never want to use the Express version. It has super, limited functionality. You won't have complete control over your account. You're basically giving Google all of the control to, disperse your budget and show your ads kind of however they want. So what you actually want to be doing is, you'll see this tiny text down here, probably the smallest text on the screen, and it'll say, are you a professional marketer? Switch to expert mode. And you actually want to click there. And in doing so, that will then send you to the complete version of Google Ads. So another important thing to understand, and I know this probably isn't the most interesting topic, but it is super important when it comes to managing a Google Ads account, is just understanding how Google Ads is structured. In other words, your account hierarchy. And so at the top level, you have your account, of course, and this is where you'll handle things like billing information or, granting access to different users, just general items like that. And then kind of beneath that, you'll actually start getting into creating your first advertising campaign, which starts at the campaign level. And just a little disclosure, typically you're going to have more than one campaign set up within your account. The reason being is, assuming your business either sells a lot of products or, offers a bunch of different services, or you service different locations, just depending on how your business is kind of structured, then, this could change how your campaigns are going to be created. That'll make a little bit more sense in a second. So at the campaign level, this is where you control settings like location targeting. So if you want to, target a specific city, state, zip code, you also control things like your ad schedule at the campaign level. So for example, you can tell Google you only want to run your ads from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. This is where you would do that. You also control things like your bidding strategy and, most importantly, your budget. What you would like Google to spend on a daily and monthly basis. And you can also control things like custom audiences at the campaign level. And then within your campaigns is where you have your ad groups and your actual ads that are going to be showing up on Google and across the web. And at the ad group level, this is where you're going to tell Google the type of keywords you want to bid for and show your ads for. And this is also where, again, you're going to create your actual ad copy. And just to backtrack, to give you an example of, so we can better understand sort of the account structure, webFEAT, for example, our headquarters is located in Cincinnati, but we also, have clients and provide services to a bunch of other cities too. And so, for us, it might make sense to create multiple ad campaigns based on city. So we might have a campaign in Cincinnati, and then within that campaign, our ad groups will focus on the services we offer. And then we'll create a second campaign focused on Cleveland, for example. And again, list out, our different services by ad group. And this is going to allow us to get, much more targeted with our keywords and just provide more relevant information to our potential customers. So another important component of Google Ads, and just like any other, marketing strategy, it typically starts out with quality research. And when it comes with Google Ads, you're going to have research on for competitors and then also on keywords. And so when it comes to competitor research, you want to go to google.com and search for some phrases that are relevant to your business, and just take a look at what's showing up, how many people are showing ads for those sort of search terms, what kind of competitors are showing up, and that's going to give you an idea of what type of keywords these people are bidding on as well. And then from there, you want to kind of dig into deeper keyword research, and there's a ton of tools out there, some free, some paid, that can give you insight into these items. But things you want to look at are, search volumes for certain keywords. For example, you're probably not going to want to bid on a keyword that only has one search per month. And you also might not want to bid on a keyword that has, 15,000 searches per month. If you were to bid, and take that with a grain of salt, but typically, if there's search volumes of 15,000 for a certain keyword each month, that probably means it's going to be a very competitive keyword. And, if you're working with a smaller budget, you're probably going to want to look for, keywords with less search volume and less competition. Additionally, you can also figure out, average cost per clicks for certain keywords, and also just general difficulty using some of these tools listed here, like Google Keyword Planner, which you can actually access in your Google Ads account. And then there's some other paid services like SEMrush, Moz, Ubersuggest. There's a ton of them out there. Just want to check the chat box here. Okay. So once you do your initial competitor and keyword research, then you actually want to start compiling a keyword list that you want to implement into your campaign. You want to determine the keywords you actually want to bid on. And it doesn't end there, I assure you. Once you have your keyword list, then you need to learn about the different keyword match types. Basically, this is how you tell Google, how broad or how targeted you want your keyword bidding to operate. So there are three types of match types. There's broad match, phrase match, and exact match. With broad match keywords, we typically never use them, and especially when you're first starting out a campaign, you're probably not going to want to use broad match keywords. Basically how these work is, say you're an HVAC company and you wanted to bid on the keyword HVAC repair cost. This is a valid keyword. It could potentially, generate leads or some phone calls for you. However, if you use a broad match keyword to bid on HVAC repair cost, there's a good chance your ad is going to show up and generate clicks for searches that aren't really relevant to your business or your ultimate goal. So if you're bidding on HVAC repair cost as a broad match keyword, your ad might show up for something like, how much do HVAC companies make? And obviously this isn't probably going to generate leads for you. And at the end of the day, it's just going to end up wasting your ad budget on irrelevant clicks. What we do recommend is using match types such as phrase match and exact match, which make sure your ads appear in the search results and across the web for searches that are more relevant to the actual keyword you're trying to bid on. For example, if it's a phrase match keyword and you're bidding on the word men's shoes, your ad might appear for something like blue shoes for men. And exact match just gets even more targeted. If you're bidding on roof repair, your ad might show for roof repair near me, but it will be very similar to the actual keyword. And I know that can be kind of confusing. There's a lot of information on the web, and a lot of it just kind of comes with experience and just using the Google Ads platform more often. So another super critical and important part of Google Ads is making sure you have accurate conversion tracking set up. This is basically how you're going to determine the ROI of your advertising efforts. You don't want to create an ads campaign and generate 150 clicks and spend $2,000 over the course of a month and have no idea if that investment and your advertising efforts ended up in sales or leads or any kind of conversion. And so you always want to set up conversion tracking before starting and launching a campaign. Setting up conversion tracking can be somewhat technically involved. It's nothing crazy, but you definitely are going to want to at least be familiar with some basic code and just the back end of your website. So as far as types of conversion tracking you can set up, excuse me, there is click tracking, which typically isn't 100% accurate, but basically how it works is, say you have a contact form on your website and someone goes to that form, and typically at the bottom of the form there's a submit or send button. When someone fills out that form and they click submit, Google can track when someone actually clicks that button or link. This would then be considered an conversion within your Google Ads account. The problem with this is, competitors or just marketing solicitors or bots that are out there can go to that form and just click the submit button without filling it out. And this can oftentimes lead to false conversions. So A better approach is to use something called a URL destination. And the way this works is when someone submits that form, it'll redirect them to a new page. For example, a thank you page, or a form confirmation page. And this is going to be a more accurate way of tracking if it's a valid valid conversion. Excuse me. I'll just drink some water here. Simply because the only way someone's going to get to that actual thank you page is by filling out that form, truly filling out that form, and not just clicking the button without filling it out. I was getting kind of sidetracked there, but basically you want to use, a thank you page versus just click tracking, generally speaking. Other things you can track are phone calls, and Google can actually record conversations that you have with customers that clicked on one of your ads, which is kind of a creepy feature, but it's also super beneficial because this can give you a better idea if a phone call was actually a true lead or not. And then finally, if you're an e-commerce store or website, you're obviously going to want to track if someone buys a physical product from you. And this is typically the more technically advanced conversion tracking you'll have to set up, and you might need a developer or just someone that's really familiar with Google Ads and just website development. But basically you can report any revenue that was generated on your site as a result of Google Ads, and that'll be reported into your Google Ads account. So some other additional features within Google Ads are demographic and location targeting. So within your Google Ads account, you can tell Google, if you want to target certain countries, states, cities, counties, zip codes, and then you can even, target mile radiuses around those specific locations, which is super beneficial. You pretty much always want to be setting up some type of location targeting. Just an example, if you're, a landscaper in Cincinnati, Ohio, and you only service the Cincinnati area, you're obviously only going to want to show your ads to people in Cincinnati. Additionally, you can target demographics such as age, gender, household incomes, and device types. So there's kind of two cases I can think where targeting certain device types makes sense just off the top of my head. The first would be, if you have a website that isn't really mobile responsive. So if someone goes to your website on their cell phone and the text is super small and things are just formatted wrong, you might not even want to, run your ads on mobile. Maybe you just want to run them on desktop. The other reason you might adjust your device type settings is after running your campaign for a little while and you collect data, you might realize that people just convert better on desktop or tablet or mobile. And so you might want to just focus on running your ads on that specific device. And then finally, another feature is custom audiences. So you can, target people that work in certain industries or, are interested in certain hobbies. And, Google is always collecting data and information about its users. So, this is just another beneficial feature to implement. Okay, and I think this is pretty much the last section of the presentation. I didn't want to overwhelm everyone with a ton of information. I also have one more additional slide that has, additional topics that I would recommend looking into and researching, and maybe we'll even do another webinar talking about those topics down the road. But the last thing I really want to talk about was the different types of ads you can actually create and run within Google Ads. So the first type, and the type of ad you're probably most familiar with and you've seen before, are standard text ads. these are the ads that are, for the most part, going to show up in the actual Google search results. And they typically consist of a headline, some text or description, and then you can also add things called extensions, and there's a bunch of different types of extensions. But basically the point of extensions is to, make your ad stand out a little bit more, make it more prevalent. You can, add a phone number link to the bottom of your ad. You can add additional links to other pages on your site that might be beneficial to users. And there's a bunch more as well. But when it comes to text ads, there's basically three types. There's standard text ads, responsive text ads, and then dynamic text ads. And all three of these type of text ads show up the same way in the Google search results. It's just the way they're created on the back end within the Google Ads platform is a little different. So with standard text ads, basically what you tell Google you want in the ad, that's what's going to show up. With responsive text ads, you basically create a list of 15 or so different headlines. So, where it says webFEAT Complete Internet Marketing Agency, you'll basically create 15 different versions of that. And Google, using its artificial intelligence, is basically adapts what that headline is going to be based off of what someone's searching for. So the benefit of doing that is just that your headline is going to be super relevant and targeted to what someone's actually searching for. So there's advantages to both types of ads, but we typically always recommend creating a standard text ad and then also creating some responsive ads as well. Another type of ad you can run are called call-only ads, and these are only used for mobile devices. Basically, this is how it looks. They're super beneficial for service-based businesses. For example, if you're an HVAC company and someone needs, an emergency air conditioning repair or something, and they type that into Google, and a call-only ad, if you're running them, can basically allow someone just to call you straight from the Google search results. They don't even have to visit your website or anything. And these can convert quite well as well. And then you have display ads. We kind of already talked about this with the cooking blog example earlier, but generally speaking, these are great for generating brand awareness for your company. They, when you run display ads, they show up within that Google display network that I was talking about earlier. And so there's millions of websites that are within that network. And so your ad could be, even if someone doesn't interact with the ad and click on it, when they're scrolling through a blog or a website, they still might see that ad, and, it might just create some top of mind awareness for them. And another benefit of these is they typically have a much lower cost per click than the standard text ads I was talking about earlier. But on the flip side, they usually don't convert quite as well because the user intent isn't quite there as much. With standard text ads, someone is physically going to Google and searching for, some type of service that you offer. Whereas with a display ad, someone might be on a cooking blog, not even looking for the service you offer. So, they're probably gonna be less inclined to interact with your ad. And then we have shopping ads, which are used for e-commerce websites. And I kind of touched on this earlier, but depending on the product you sell on your website, a lot of times the cost per click for shopping ads can be really low as well. Again, these show up at the top of the search results in a sort of carousel fashion. And, if someone searches for Nike shoes, a bunch of results from a bunch of different websites are going to show up, and, people can scroll through these. And once they click on it, it'll send them right to your actual product page on your website. And just to give an example of how effective these can actually be, this is just a month's worth of data from one of our clients. It's from 2020. I just didn't update the image, but basically they spent $40 over the course of a single month, and they were able to generate $4,500 in e-commerce sales just from running these Google Shopping ads. So, if that doesn't tell you how amazing the ROI can be with these, I don't know what will. But it's not to say you're going to have results like this every time, but it definitely is possible. And I believe this is the last ad type, but there are also video ads you can run within Google. And you might not know this, but Google does own YouTube. And so, if you've ever gone to YouTube and watched a tutorial or a music video or whatever it was, and before your video actually starts, there's an ad before that video, or sometimes an ad will even interrupt the middle of your video. These are Google video ads, and you're able to create these yourself as well, obviously. It'll just require you would need someone to create a video for you. There are a lot of tools out there. You don't need to be a professional videographer to create a video ad by any means. And yeah, these also, typically have a lower cost per click or cost per view. Can be great for brand awareness, and yeah, can still drive valuable traffic to your website. So that was pretty much everything I wanted to cover for today. I could continue talking about this stuff for probably hours, but some additional topics you might want to look into are different bidding strategies within Google Ads. There's quite a few of them. Some work better than others, and if you're serious about creating a Google Ads campaign, this is definitely going to be something you want to educate yourself on and become very familiar with. Other topics are, of course, writing good quality ad copy. You want to make sure your click-through rate is pretty solid. When your ads show up in the Google search results, you want to make people click on yours as opposed to your competitors. And a lot of times that comes down to the ad copy that's included in your ads. Other topics, and this is a big one, is landing pages. If you're running 20 ads, you don't just want to send all of those ads, or people that click on your ads, you don't want to send them just to your homepage, for example. You want to send them to a landing page that's highly relevant to the keyword they're searching for and the ad they clicked on. For example, you don't want, if you're an HVAC company, I know I keep going back to that, but if you're running an ad for air conditioning unit repair, you don't want to send them to, a furnace repair page, for example. Kind of a silly example, but you'd be surprised how many people don't send their ads to a relevant landing page. Another topic is quality score. This is the metric Google uses within your ads account to determine how your ad is going to perform versus other people's ad. So, there's only one number one position in Google, and Google's got to figure out a way to, to put the best ad and the most relevant ad in that top position. And they do this using their quality score, which is made up of, a number of different criteria. Then there's ad extensions, which I briefly touched on earlier. These just, help your ad look more prevalent, and you can add additional links beneath your ad to other pages on your site, or you can even highlight promotions or neighborhoods that you serve. There's all different kinds of things. And then finally, and this is particularly useful for those display ads, is setting up remarketing. So I'm not going to dig into this too much, but basically, if I went back to that food blog example, Google knows that I went to that SEMrush website, and so SEMrush probably has remarketing set up, and so when I go to these these other websites within the Google Display Network, Google is going to be able to show me a relevant ad that relates to either, something I'm interested in or even a website that I visited previously. And without getting into too much detail, that's kind of how that works. But that's pretty much all I have for you for today. I'd be happy to, answer some questions. I know that was probably a lot of information, but I hope there was some value there. So there is a chat feature within this Zoom presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to send them there. And I'll just hang out for a couple minutes, give you some time in case you have any additional questions for me. Thank you, Ray. Thank you all. Appreciate it. No problem. We're going to send everyone a follow-up email with the slide deck as well as the recorded presentation. So if you want to refer back to it, you'll have access to that. And if you don't have any additional questions, feel free to, sign off, and thank you again for tuning in. We hope to do some more of these in the future.